Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's been a minute. Let's do a mailbag. Okay, so our first question has to do with the difference between what I call G1 and G2 artifacts. And this is just terminology that I use. As far as I know, this isn't in the game anywhere. So what I'm talking about is all the artifacts that came out initially that you can get from just the tavern here. Like all these things. These are your G1 artifacts. And then in addition to these artifacts, some of the Forge of Light artifacts that came out during Season 1 are also G1 artifacts. And then everything after that is a G2 artifact. So why is this important? Why am I talking about this? Well, we'll take a look at a G1 artifact, Kingslayer here. And when you max the level here, so level 5, and you 6-star it out, you get two bonuses, a 5% damage taken reduction and a 5% damage dealt bonus, right? The 5th star gives you the damage taken reduction and the 6th star gives you the damage dealt bonus. All right, so 10% overall for 6-starring this artifact max levels. Now let's take a look at a G2 artifact. All right, so the Mirage Orb here, this is a G2 artifact. I have it max level, I have it 6-starred, and you can see as a G2 artifact, I get a 7.5% damage taken reduction, damage dealt bonus. And this is especially important when you're talking about a rally artifact or a garrison artifact for a bastion or a pass, because that passive buff, that passive debuff, that's really important in the rally garrison fight. This is one of the reasons why the rally banner fell off completely. Now you can see I don't have this leveled anymore, but this is a G1 artifact. And so when you 6-star this up, make it 5 levels, you only get the 5% on this, which makes it inferior to any G2 maxed out artifact you would use for that exact same purpose. Okay, now what about the exemplar system? Every exemplar is going to do something a little bit different, but in addition to whatever exemplar effect you're going to get, there's also an additional bonus, and the bonus is larger for G2 artifacts than G1 artifacts. So let's take a look at Phoenix Eye here, which I have completely maxed out. I get a plus 2.5%, minus 2.5%, from the exemplar effect itself, right? This is in addition to the 5% I have down here. Now, taking a look at a G2 artifact I have maxed out, you can see I get a 5% instead of the 2.5%. This is in addition to the 7.5% below. All right, so initially the difference between a G1 artifact and a G2 artifact completely maxed out was 2.5% on offense, 2.5% on defense, so a total of 5%. Now the difference is 5% on offense and 5% on defense, right? So the total difference now is a 5% damage taken reduction bonus and a 5% damage dealt bonus if you have something completely maxed out, including the exemplar, the difference between G1 and G2. Now the other kind of weird quirk here is that like I said, some of the artifacts that you could get in the very first season are nevertheless considered G2 artifacts, and some of them aren't, right? So for example, the Infernal Flame, right? This is a Forge of Light of artifact that you can get from the start of the game, right? The first Forge of Light. It is a G2 artifact. The same thing with Spring Blades, G2 artifact. You take a look at something like Breath of Gargantus. This is only a G1 artifact. One of the reasons I'm kind of down on Breath of Gargantus, versus some other players. Okay, our second question deals with what is variable healing exactly. And to understand that, it's important to understand what a normal healing factor does. So I have the Garwood Thea March here, because a normal healing factor kind of acts the same thing as a normal damage factor, and for that matter, a shield factor acts the same way. It's going to produce an amount of healing based on the own internal strength that you have, right? And remember, the numbers you see here, the green and yellow numbers, that's not the actual healing that's being done. That's, in the green case, that's the number of lightly wounded troops that have been brought back into the battle. And in the yellow case, that's the number of troops that essentially were saved from being wounded. Okay, now by comparison, variable healing is sort of like lifesteal. You get more healing based on the amount of damage you do to the enemy. All right, now the other thing about variable healing is it scales with the quality of the enemy you're fighting. So if you're fighting tier 1, yeah, you'll do a lot of damage, but you'll get a lot less healing than when you're fighting, a higher quality opponent. Our third question has to do with pet shop prices. and basically boils down to why are the physical damage enhancers like Fatal Bite and Blood Roar always super expensive, but when you look at the magic damage enhancers, Elemental Harmony, Magic Spirits, Magic Fortune, they're substantially cheaper, and in particular, Elemental Harmony is a lot cheaper than the rest of them. So the answer to this is a little complicated. The first thing to understand, you probably already intuitively understand this, is that the game sets different price tiers for different skills. Angry Roar, Blood Roar, Fatal Bite, those are all at the highest price tier, whereas something like Fierce Attack, that's a price tier down, and a basic skill like, I don't know, Pure Strength, that's the lowest price tier. The magic damage enhancers, Magic Fortune, Elemental Harmony, Magic Spirits, they're all at that higher price tier too. Follow up is sort of the equivalent of Fierce Attack, one down. And then you also have something like Resonance at the same tier, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. We have price tiers. And then based on the purchase or selling activity of these skills, the price will go up or down. Okay, that's how the system works. So why are these physical skills so much higher? Well, the first reason is that they're just more physical pets than magic pets in the game right now. If you want to build out the pet damage skills for a physical pet, you need Angry Roar, Blood Roar, Fatal Bite. Okay, no kidding. These are sort of the equivalent of Magic Fortune, Elemental Harmony, and Magic Spirits, but you have your infantry, your archers, and your cav that are all competing for the physical skills, whereas you only have your mages competing for the magic skills. Look, magic play is very popular. I haven't done a census lately, but it would not surprise me if mages were the most played class. They're not more played than all the other classes put together, right? That's the first reason the physical skills are more important. The second reason is that the higher power, higher spend players prefer the physical skills. And why is that? First, you have the Rally Garrison meta, right? And the Rally Garrison meta right now is heavily infantry focused. These three skills are predominantly on the most of the Rally Garrison pets. And if you are the Rally Garrison lead for your alliance, you are strongly incentivized to boost that Rally Garrison pet as much as you can, which means not only putting these skills on your pet, but 3-starring them. In the current metagame, there's just not that much Rally Garrison going on at high levels with magic pets. So that's one reason why these are cheaper. The second reason is that even while magic play is very popular, and there are plenty of high-level players that play mages, there is a disproportionate amount of high-level players that play cav, and they want to be strong, and getting these skills on their pet is a good way to do that, and so the higher level players are just more likely to buy these physical skills. Okay, there's one last reason why Elemental Harmony in particular is cheaper than the other skills, and that's because it's an intelligence skill. As you look through the magic pets, a lot of them have an intelligence skill as their primary skill. For example, the Sapphire, the Shadow, the Seraphic, they all have intelligence as their primary rage skill. Okay, that's one. Second, the follow-up package is the package you put on every magic pet. So now you've already got 2 intelligence skills on there. And then you look at something like the Sapphire, it's got the skill Intense Pain Bloom. That is a viable choice you can put on your pet. That's the 3rd intelligence skill. And so you just don't have room for Elemental Harmony. Okay, last thing, think about the state of magic pets in the game right now. The Sapphire is the most prominent, the most popular magic pet that we have. It's probably the strongest in most situations. And a lot of players will see Intense Pain Bloom and put that on their pet. They have follow-up on there, they have the rage skill. There's just no room for Elemental Harmony. I actually happen to think that Elemental Harmony is a better skill, even on the Sapphire. But whatever, this is good too. And since you have this crowding out Elemental Harmony, you have less demand for Elemental Harmony, which is why overall you'll see lower prices for this than Magic Fortune or Magic Spirits, let alone the physical pet damage package. Fourth question essentially boils down to, hey, what's up with my Magro? Why haven't I developed him more? In particular, since I'm a heavy Cav player, and Magro, even though he's an infantry commander, sees a lot of play in Cav marches, particularly with Ferondel as the primary. Magro's second skill here can spread debuffs. Ferondel puts a lot of debuffs on the enemy and a very powerful cowardice debuff on the enemy. Why wouldn't I want to spread this with Magro's skill? Really the answer comes down to, I used to play elves a lot, And Magro doesn't work well with elves, right? Obviously, he doesn't fly, so I couldn't put him in my flying marches. And his rage skill here has melee range, which means if you're running him with elk riders, this is not going to work at melee range. And so I was always disincentivized to put Magro in my cav ball. So he was just always a low priority for me. I think Magro is a great choice for the cav ball. If I had him awakened, I'd probably use him. As elves, you're disincentivized to use him as a cav commander, and that's the reason I never developed my Magro. All right, one last question, but it's a bonus question for the audience. Your alliance has just dropped a new mana well. You're about to put some gatherers in there and go to sleep overnight. All right, your primary is going to be some gathering hero, maxed out as good as you can make them. Right now in the game today, who is the best deputy commander to put in that mana well? Let me know in the answers below. And until next time, you stay classy, Belron.